The first part in our series offered the basic foundation of skills to develop an understanding of how the industry works. The second part described the process of creating a roadmap for advancement, based on how your company is structured, and what is vital to advance from the perspective of those who are in control. This third part identifies crucial skills you need to effectively manage your career journey and extract the greatest value from the process. These skills represent two pivotal secrets necessary to achieve success and well-being. They both address how to stay focused when your challenges seem overwhelming or even too complex to begin. The path less traveled is less traveled for a reason, and certain abilities are necessary to reach your goals without driving yourself mad and alienating your colleagues. All of the top-level employees I've witnessed advancing in their career have possessed a high level of emotional intelligence and an ability to succeed at seemingly insurmountable challenges. Adam was working tirelessly accumulating badges and trying to suck up to the managers. He received certifications in areas that had little value to the client. He became proficient at software that the company rarely used. He was the guy for local lunch spots and knew the best bars for happy hour. These may be valuable badges to his coworkers, but they weren't inspiring to those in control, and his advancement dragged on at a slow pace. The more hours he worked and the more recognition his coworkers received, the more aggravated and stressed he became. And when that frustration bubbled to the surface, it became noticeable to others as well. Disgruntled is not an attribute, nor is it on the list of badges. But it is an indication of someone who never gained a thorough understanding of the industry operations or their organization's structure. If left unchecked, frustration can grow and spread, causing a sharp decline in performance, physical health, and mental well-being. Our eighth secret is one of the most important to master, but it is also one of the most challenging. Emotional intelligence covers a wide range of feelings, responses, and general reactions. But like our Italian friend would suggest, there are a few vital practices that have the greatest impact on our ability to remain calm. The early practitioners of emotional intelligence were ancient Greek and Roman philosophers called the Stoics. To honor them, we call the three vital practices pillars and display them as carved in stone. We should have placed them in front of Adam's cubicle as well. Adam would routinely complain to Eve about the progression of other employees. His frustration and anger would consume a lot of his energy, and he would often leave work exhausted and fixated on the belief that he was continuously overlooked and underappreciated. He was capable of doing good work, but he began to slip and develop a reputation for complaints and negative emotions. Eve tried to encourage Adam to have a positive attitude, but Adam was stubborn and allowed his emotions to control him. Adam's situation isn't uncommon, and it demonstrates why we have identified the following three pillars of emotional intelligence. 1. Don't waste time and energy on anger, and avoid worrying about things you can't control. The energy focused on these emotions will detract you from finding and implementing solutions to your challenge. The time and effort Adam was spending stewing about his lack of advancement was distracting his focus and almost unknowingly draining his energy. His frustration caused an adrenaline release which masked his exhaustion. This had a double impact on his performance, which had a negative effect on how he was being judged. Eve was able to focus her frustration caused by Gary on finding the cause and solution to her problem. She was consistently able to avoid unnecessary anger and worry, so she could focus on achievement. The second pillar is that we are the sum of our actions, and a few bad actions will carry much more weight than many good ones. Reputation in the consulting industry is a highly valuable component to success. The work we complete is not always visible to others, but our reactions, treatment of coworkers, and handling of stressful situations is on full display. Adam did not realize his work was overshadowed by his moments of frustration. He needs to prove he can handle the stress of his current level before taking on tougher challenges and responsibilities associated with higher stages. The pressure to perform does not decrease as you advance. Building emotional intelligence at each level is just as critical as technical performance, and not just sometimes, but a consistent display of emotional intelligence is a necessity. The third pillar is to know when to leave others to their faults. We are too often tempted to take on the problems and challenges of our friends and colleagues, convinced that we cure them of their ailments. We have enough issues to manage ourselves and do not need the extra credit. Misery indeed loves company. Adam, like many disgruntled employees, was actively recruiting others for his cause. And too often people like Adam aren't truly interested in a solution, but rather the comfort received from having others join their campaign. Eve offered her advice to maintain a positive attitude. After it was swiftly dismissed, she moved on to avoid being tangled in Adam's emotional net, which could cause an impact on her own career. Mastering emotional intelligence is a long process, but beginning with just these 3 pillars will provide a solid foundation to start. It turns out Jake kept many odd things on his desk. There were 3 miniature stones for tranquility, a quote from Henry Ford, an apple, and a grade school picture of himself. Eve had cracked the code on the stones in Henry Ford, but she had to ask about the picture. Jake explained it was to remind him of the speech impediment he had growing up and caused him difficulties through college and his early career. However, Jake now presented confidently to his clients. So what changed? It was the wisdom, compassion, and patient guidance of Gary, Eve's first boss. Yeah, right. That's not true at all. But Gary did play a part. Jake had originally worked for Gary when he started his career. Jake wasn't included in client meetings because of his speech impediment, and he overheard Gary criticizing him to another manager, suggesting that Jake had reached his ceiling for advancement. He saw it as his Achilles heel. Jake focused his anger and frustration on overcoming his challenge. He joined a local group that practiced public speaking. He was awful the first time, and he didn't get much better the time after that. But he didn't give up, and each month he started to see a little improvement. And after several years he became an accomplished speaker and was competing in regional speech competitions. So he keeps that picture to remind him to get a little better each day at everything he does. Number 9 on our list is a little secret that Jake learned on his own, but it has been practiced by the Japanese for quite some time. The Kaizen principle became popular in the 1950s and is the foundation of the work ethic that made Japanese production a force to be reckoned with. Simply put, the Kaizen principle suggests that small continuous improvements will add up to significant progress over time. The applications are limitless for any change that may seem insurmountable at first. In our third segment, we discuss the importance of building your emotional intelligence and introduced a simple technique for managing an overwhelming challenge. The high performers you wish to emulate likely have the ability to remain calm, avoid emotional reactions, and can immediately focus energy and effort on solutions, rather than wallowing in frustration and complaints. Also notice how they seem to lack the weary look of stress and anxiety. It is likely they have reached this level by making small advancements each day until eventually over time they have achieved their goals. Basic actions that can help you include spending separate days focused on each of the 3 pillars discussed. If you haven't spent any time observing high performers, then begin to study for yourself how they manage their emotions. Identify one simple improvement and focus on that issue until you feel you have effectively implemented it, and then pick another.